Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
We're going to be reviewing the ADO Air 20 Pro next. It's got a lot of cool tech features, Jess.
But do you need all of them?
So Jesse, I think this might be a commuter bike for the fit professional. Maybe I'd even throw the word urban in there.
Definitely a commuter bike. I'd say with a bunch of bells and whistles.
So if you go to the ADO or Adici Oasis website.
Is that Italian?
I don't know. I've never heard all those three words together before.
DECE. What possible
I'm just going to call it ADO because that's what they
ADO.
call it. This is the Air 20 Pro. So it is $2,008, but it seems to always have a forever sale. And right now it's $1,896.
Excellent year.
Good year for e-bikes. It's a folding e-bike. It's got 20-inch by 2-inch tires. So it's a 250-watt hub motor driven by a carbon belt. This is the first folding carbon fiber belt e-bike to come out. Did you know that?
Wow. If I painted it purple, it would be the first one that was also purple.
So it has an auto shifting Bafang motor, but that doesn't mean that the motor is shifting power. It means that your pedals feel different. Can you explain that?
This is a bit tricky to understand. It took me riding it for about 10 to 15 minutes before I fully understood it. So you have a carbon belt, right? Belts are cool because they last very long, but they're very different than your typical chain because a chain normally can ride on multiple different gears. If you look at this bike, it doesn't look like it has gears. It actually has 2 gears. They are all internal to the motor, and it's electronically triggered, the shifting of the gears, and it's all dependent on speed. So when you're pedaling this bike, once you get it up to about 20 kilometers an hour, it will shift. It'll basically upshift to a higher speed. The pedaling will become harder, but you'll be able to pedal faster, which is what you normally do on a bike. And I think that's really neat.
It's like as if when you got to 20 kilometers an hour, you actually just shifted a traditional bike into a higher gear.
Yes, and so you have these 2 different gears.
What I don't like about it, though, I will say, is when you hit a slope, typically you want to make sure that it stays in a low gear. But if you are going 20 kilometers an hour or faster, it goes into that higher gear, which makes it harder to pedal.
The other thing that I was not able to do in all of my testing, and I was trying to specifically do this, was to get it to downshift while I was pedaling. And it would not do that.
No, you have to stop pedaling, drop your speed below 20 kilometers for like 3 or 4 seconds.
In order to downshift. Right. So let's say you're going up a hill, starting at the bottom of the hill, and I'm going, let's say 27 kilometers an hour. Great. And I start going up the hill, and it's hard because it's a hill. And so I slow down and I get below 20 kilometers an hour. You'd think, oh great, it'll downshift. No, it won't. You have to stop pedaling, which if you're on a hill means that you're going to slow down a lot. And by the time that it shifts, because I don't know how long it takes to shift, because sometimes I would stop pedaling for like half a second and then start pedaling again and it hadn't shifted down. And then other times I'd stop for like maybe a little bit more than that, and then I would start pedaling. The problem was I couldn't tell when it downshifted because I had slowed down, so my pedaling speed was the same and it was just as hard to do because I had lost my momentum. It's a neat, spiffy, cool idea, especially for having a carbon belt and all that stuff. It's a nice bell and whistle, but
it almost would be nicer if you could flick a switch on your handlebar and control that.
Yeah, if only we had like come up with that kind of technology before. There have been other bike companies that have solved the carbon belt problem using different solutions, continuous variable transmission, for example, or you just leave it as a single speed. It's a cool thing. I don't know if it really is worth the extra money that you're going to be paying for.
It's really good on flat ground, I will say.
It is good on flat ground, and so if you live in a flat city and there aren't that many hills, I think you're not going to care at all, and you're going to love it when it upshifts.
The battery you might be asking about, where is the battery? Is it in here? No, it's not. It's right here in the seat post. It's very small. It's a 36 volt by 9.6 amp. So that means that it is a 345 watt hour battery, which is on the very tiny side, which means I would have thought the range would have been very low. They claim you can get 100 kilometers of range. That'd be 60 miles. I don't think that's possible unless you are being very energetic in your pedaling.
Every e-bike company is going to inflate their range number. The thing is, if it's an e-bike with pedals, it's an infinite range as long as you want to pedal.
To infinity and beyond!
The thing here is, yes, this battery is rather small. I don't think it's going to last you for 100 kilometers unless you have this on like Pedal Assist 1. I think that there's a couple things that help you, which is like the shifting, but yeah, this battery is just too small.
So it's got 40 Newton meters of torque, so it has a lot of torque and it felt pretty good. And what's neat is you get that torque immediately because it is a torque sensor and they've set it up really well. The second you start pedaling, you get the power, which is a really nice feeling. It comes in 2 colors, a light blue and a gray, with gray is the one we have here.
And it weighs 18 kilograms, which, because I don't know what kilograms are, great, this is gonna be really light. No. It's, that's what, like 46 pounds?
I just think it's very misleading on a lot of the videos that we've watched and a lot of their website stuff. It makes it look like you can easily fold this up and grab it under your arm and run onto a train or run up some stairs into your office. And I just don't think, unless you are very fit, that you're gonna be able to do that. I'm pretty fit, Jesse's pretty fit, and yet we both kind of helped each other to get it into something like the back of the pickup truck.
Right. A lot of people that I see, they show it running. I think that maybe we weren't told that we were supposed to fold it up and run with it. I'm not running with this. And then they're like, oh, it was so easy. No, it's not really easy. This is a very heavy bike, especially for the size of it. I know that there are...
It's deceptive. I mean, it looks light.
Super deceptive. If you're looking at this, you're like, wow, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there. This member has to be very strong because this holds the entire weight of the bike. When you hit bumps and everything, it's got to take all of that. Plus, it's also got to fold. This is a very, very heavy frame for the size that it is.
And the thing is, if you want to take the battery out, which would lower the weight a bit, you have to do some unplugging. There's keys involved, and I just don't think it's the kind of thing you're gonna wanna do, because the whole point of this would be to quickly get it onto a train.
And the other point is, once you take the battery out, the seat is gone.
Right.
A lot of times on other e-bikes, Zach and I will take the battery out of an e-bike, and then we'll be able to kind of sit on it and roll it around to move it where we need to go, and here you'd be missing that very important piece.
Good point. So it's got a front fork suspension, which I think is nice.
Not a lot of travel on it. For heavy bumps, I think it's gonna be really nice. It's got 160 millimeter hydraulic brakes.
Those are really nice, actually.
Those are really nice. So they put really nice brakes on this bike, which is always nice. Being able to stop consistently and safely is a good thing.
So there's 3 power assist levels plus a walk mode at 2.8 kilometers an hour. And of course you can shut it off and just use it as a regular bike.
On the screen, you can see your speed, the battery life in both percentage and in voltage. Instead of a battery meter with like 5, bars that eventually, diminish, it goes down granularly, which I think is really nice. It also tells you your trip distance, your odometer, and your average speed during your trip. All fun things. Also, you should be able to get navigation on the screen.
But only using your app.
Only using your app. So this bike comes with front headlight. It also comes with a rear tail light. Tail light doesn't get any brighter when you brake, which is kind of disappointing. It does have blinkers though.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't think that you should just rely on these. You should continue to do your hand signals to let people know what you're doing.
It's also got metal fenders with the Pro. If you get the Air 20, you get plastic fenders.
And with like an optional upgrade of like $110 to get these. It's kind of a neat little rack. It doesn't hold all that much weight because of the design.
But it is cute.
It is cute. It also puts your tail light in a more useful position, in my opinion.
To turn on the bike, you got to turn on a button here on your battery, which I always forget to do. So then I sit there going, why isn't my bike turning on? And then when you finally remember to do that, it takes about 4 seconds to hold down the power button to turn on the bike. And I got to tell you, it's just 1 second longer than my brain wants, because I go, and then it turns on. So you just have to keep holding that power button. I know it seems like a little thing, but when you want to get going, let's say you're just late for work, that extra second feels like a minute. So I just don't like that. It's like, it's a power button, just turn it on.
The Air 20 Pro also comes with folding pedals, which is nice when you want to fold it up. I will say that folding pedals are a bit overrated. Just sometimes they'll be folded when you want to ride the bike, and then you go like, oh, my foot won't go on the pedal. I don't know if you really need them, but it's nice, I guess, on a folder. It's never made the difference for me. I've never been like, thank goodness I could fold the pedal, now it will fit. But maybe it would help.
Maybe for your trunk it will.
Yes.
So ADO claims that this will take a rider from 150 centimeters to 200 centimeters. If you're in the English world, that's 4'11" to 6'7". That's a big range. It may be possible. It does have an adjustable seat, but that just sounds a little bit too much.
Let me
6'7". I don't know.
Yeah, I'm confused there.
So what Jesse's doing now is trying to unlock
I got
the
it.
battery. There we go.
I got it. There we go. The battery seat. Hey, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. I don't know if you're gonna look like a dweeb if you're 6'7" and riding a bike. Now, it has adjustable handlebars here, and they also fold down when you fold up the bike. I have never liked this style of handlebar.
Here's the problem. If you are 4'11", your arms are shorter, most likely, than the 6'7". We've heard a lot of people say that this distance from seat to handlebar is too long. And it did feel a little bit long for me. I'm 5'9". How about you?
I'm like just a little under 6 foot. and I was like, oh, it's a little too far. I also think that the T design of the handlebars gives it a really twitchy feel.
What do you mean T design?
So you see that there's no sweep in these handlebars.
Oh, they don't come back at all.
It's basically just a T that you're holding onto, and that makes it really twitchy. When you have a bit of a sweep, you can kind of like gently turn. For a commuter, I can understand how having a nice twitchy steer might be what you want. It also might be what you very much do not want. Now, I do think that you could replace the handlebars, but that's like a whole other thing. So it's not my favorite just overall design where the bike is really small and then they like stick things off of it.
Well, now that we're getting to the pros and cons part, I do think that if this is a commuter, there should be a place to put your coffee. There's no mounting points.
There's very little handlebar real estate. You're almost certainly gonna have a phone mount, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah.
There's no water bottle holder. Now, maybe you could use this stem. They might sell something that you could put
Yeah, but there's no
coffee
mounts
on.
for it.
Normally there's like a water bottle holder mount somewhere, but they didn't put one on.
So they say that you can have a weight capacity of 120 kilograms or 264 pounds.
And the battery charges in 4 to 6 hours.
Now, I would have liked, since the battery's so small anyway, and this is supposed to be a commuter bike, that this would charge in 2 to 3 hours, because if you go to the office, you want to make sure that by lunchtime it's charged up, or
Lunchtime.
or half day. If it's 4 to 6, it might not even be fully charged by the time you need to get home.
Hey, what, did your boss design this bike?
Let's get to the pros and cons here. We'll start with the cons. The seat for me is really bare bones, not very comfortable. I know you can replace it, but I've just gotten used to way more comfy seats.
The other con for me is gonna be that there's no thumb throttle.
I really do like to have one to get through intersections and stuff.
On a 250 watt bike, yeah, a thumb throttle isn't gonna save the day.
Although you do get the instant torque, so that's kind of
You do get the instant torque and it's auto shifting, so when at a stop, you're always gonna be in low gear. All right.
And you like the hand grips.
The hand grips on this are really nice. They're kind of like a padded, almost like a grip tape kind of feel. Really neat. I haven't seen too many bikes that kind of have this grip.
There is an accessory you can get to this, which is more power. It's called the Air Power Bank. It's $334. It weighs 2 kilograms, and it's gonna give you like 80% more range.
Except that it is shaped exactly like a water bottle. And as we've already said, there's no water bottle mounting point. So I do not know how it works.
Yeah, we don't have it, so.
If you're on ADO's website, they will like automatically add that to your cart when you go to check out this bike. So make sure that it's not included if you don't want it.
And so going back to the price, I feel like that's the biggie for me here. This is just too much money for the bike, in my opinion. There's some really nice features, except I just don't know that I personally need them. I feel like this whole carbon belt that causes you to have auto shift is just like, why? If that's important to you, and their selling point is that you don't have to worry about the chain, because it's a belt, for 20 to 30,000 kilometers. That is nice. Totally agree with that. It is silent, which is really nice. I mean, unless you're gonna do thousands and thousands of miles of biking, I just don't know that there was ever really a problem with chains. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't think you're gonna be riding this bike long enough for the chain to wear out. I've gotta be honest. And then when the chain does wear out and it dies, and it breaks or whatever, yes, you'll be stranded on the road one day if you'd had a chain, but then you'd take to the bike shop, they put a new chain on, and you'd be good for another gosh knows how long.
I guess the other thing I'll say in terms of pros is that they claim that these are level 3 puncture resistant tires, and that is nice, but a lot of people say that doesn't really mean a whole lot. It might get you to where you're going, but then you're still gonna have to deal with it. You might wanna bring a can of some kind of Fix-A-Flat or with you.
The silver lining here is that this bike is the pro model. You can get the non-pro model for $500 cheaper.
Yeah.
You won't get the auto shifting, which may be a deal breaker for you.
I think it is. I mean, I think the whole point of being able to shift a bike when you get to a hill or something is important.
Is for it to do it intelligently and not
Especially-
stay in high gear while you're slowly losing.
You could argue
speed.
that against me if you had a lot of power, but with only 250 watts, it's like you need something to help you get over a hill.
I agree. And I think just the overall weight for this bike is too much for the form factor. I think that they really needed to look to where they could shave some weight off of this thing. Now, I know that you could, take an Allen wrench to this fender kit and shave some weight off there, but the frame is just too heavy. That's really the rub of it to me is, look, you might be strong enough to want to carry this thing around.
Well, that's why I said, if you're a fit urban
There you go.
professional, this is pretty cool. But if you're not, and you think that this is miraculously going to be light enough, it's just probably not.
It's gonna be heavier than your pedal bike. Right? So if you're like, oh great, it'll be just, no, it's heavier than your pedal bike. You're not gonna be able to lift it quite as easily.
And that's the problem with videos reviews, is you really need to get your hands on a bike like this to see if it fits your needs, because it could be perfect. I don't want you to be misled into thinking that it's lighter than it is. A lot of people in their reviews said, I thought it would be lighter. So I just want to point that out. Go find a bag of concrete that weighs 40 pounds or whatever. See if that's like, oh, I have no problem with it. Great, you'll have no problem with this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Now Let's Review. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode. And we're trying to bring you our honest thoughts about these e-mobility devices. There are so many of them. They are all pretty amazing, but we just want to make sure that you find what is best for you.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Now let's review.